This is a prepaid call from Broken to Redemption. Yeah, that's my squad.
Was all a dream. When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this.
Oh God, I need you to get me out again, God. I'm locked up behind these walls again, God. I got these chains, I'm shackled from my hands to my feet. If you get me out this one more time, God, I promise.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Broken to Redemption podcast. I am your host, Brandon Scotto. My buddy Lorenzo going to come in here and share his story, what it was like, why he got sober, and how he stays sober. So let's welcome Lorenzo. What's up, man?
Good morning, bro. Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, of course. How's everything going?
Just busy, bro. Just busy, as we checked in earlier. Just busy doing the do, living the life, living life on life's terms.
Yep.
All that great stuff, blessings, gratitude, quality problems, not quality problems.
Right.
But
I get that.
we're here, dude. We're doing it, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
So, blessed for sure.
Hey, so go ahead and just I know your story, right? But go ahead and give the listeners a little background on your story, where it started and what it was like.
It's interesting, bro, because every time I share my story, I get reminded a little something different. And I was actually telling someone's recently about something that's popped up, but overall, like, I think early childhood, it was, I guess you could say, normal, from what we know back then, like when you're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, right? Grew up, my mom and mostly primarily in my grandparents' house, Abuela and Abuelo were always the ones right there holding it down for us and stuff. So um overall, like, didn't go without, you know what I'm saying? There wasn't no real struggle, like, you could say, externally, you know what I'm saying? We had food, we had shelter for the most part. There were times and moments where it got a little weird and tough, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, overall normal, elementary school, junior high. But I gotta admit, I'm gonna share this because I feel like through my own work, it did play a part later on in life of, like, certain things, right? Believe it or not, I used to be the short, really chubby Mexican kid in class, you know what I'm saying? So it was like I got bullied, bro. I got bullied up to, really bad, growing up, getting beat up after school a couple times and such. And I don't even know why. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, that chubby Mexican kid in the neighborhood. But overall normal, dude. You know what I'm saying? Junior high, things got a little weird. I think I think that's like the pivotal moment, right? You hit, like, 13, 14, 15 years of age, and, like, things are changing, right? Your body's changing, your mind's changing, your circles are changing. I feel like it's one of those times where you start to create your trajectory of the rest of your, I guess, your high school or your teenage years, and I remember getting to junior high, and, like, all my elementary school friends, we started to divide up a little bit, right? It was a little shift, some over here came with this crowd, some over here came with that crowd. And, you know, I just, I grew up with some of these cats, and that's where I got, I think, first a taste of the homeboys, you know what I mean? The neighborhood stuff, and, I wasn't going to be, left out. So, I followed suit and ran with them for a little minute, you know what I'm saying? And started doing that lifestyle with the homies and stuff. But, I went to high school, like, after junior high, obviously went to high school, and, we were still there, we were kinda a little bit stronger, a little bit more clicked up and stuff. But, I don't know, I really got into sports, and I played football all 4 years in high school, and it's funny because I had, like, I had friends that were, like, the homies, right, from the neighborhood, and I had my homies that, like, were my road dogs, but they were, like, the white boys, the Asians that we all played football together. And I don't know if you know, but, like, when you play football in high school, bro, that's like a tribe, dog. You do
Yeah.
everything together all day long, every day, you know what I'm saying? So we became really close. So it's almost like all through high school, like, this divide a little bit, you get what I'm saying? And um, but it was hard to, like, really let go of that other stuff too, you know what I'm saying? I didn't do any juving the whole time, dude. I didn't, get into much trouble other than, like, getting caught writing on walls maybe. I think I got caught with weed a couple times, but believe it or not, like, through high school, I didn't even really like alcohol. I remember being at parties and stuff, like maybe 3 beers and trying to force myself to drink them, you know?
Yeah.
It just didn't really hit me like that, you know what I'm saying? But, I survived high school, bro. I graduated. I think maybe there's 2 of us from my neighborhood that ended up finishing high school. I don't even know how, bro. I don't even know how. I hardly showed up. I was ditching and hanging out with the older crowd and doing what I wanted to do and stuff. But I graduated high school and I had no plans, bro. I had nothing going on for myself, dude. I didn't have a job or nothing. And I think I had a girlfriend at the time. Yeah, I had a girlfriend at the time, but like, I thought college was for like, I'm sorry, but I thought college at that time was for rich white people. So college wasn't even like a thought yet, dude. You know what I'm saying? Nobody even showed me how to fill out an application. So, I worked at Home Depot for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Forklift driving. You know what we do. You know what I mean? We get in where you fit in. And that didn't last too long, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I had moved out of the county for a little bit, moved over to LA County with that girlfriend for a minute. But when I came back home in my early 20s, it plopped me right back in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where things probably took off, right? Being able to now I had a taste for alcohol, right? Now I was drinking, now I was smoking weed on a regular basis. You get what I'm saying? Still no direction, working some odd job at some warehouse, fabricating countertops or something. So I had like the basics, right? But nothing else, bro. At this point, my stepdad and my mom had divorced. My grandpa, he's out of the picture, and he was like the patriarch of our family, right? And he's not in the picture. And so it's just me, dude. And like, I just look back and like nobody even taught me how to shave, bro. Like nobody taught me anything that you would think that a father figure would be able to tell. I mean, I had my pops. He was in my life kind of sporadically, but my real pops was out in like Nevada, up north and stuff, doing his thing with his family and such. So I was out here trying to fend for myself, you know what I'm saying? And I share the story because I jumped from then to here now because I reflect a lot, right? Just as time went on and learning to do my own work, but I reflect a lot. But nobody taught me anything about manhood, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I I jumped and grabbed the first hand that reached out, right? And that was the older homies, the big homies. They're the ones that come through, kick it. We'll show you what's up. We'll show you how to make a dollar. We'll show you how to do this. We'll show you how to survive, right? And that's what it was, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it was cool because I'll be real with you, like it was a party every day. You know what I'm saying? It was a party every day. You go to the hood, you kick it. There's drinking, there's smoking, there's women. You know what I'm saying? And I'm giving you the quick version, bro, but it didn't take long before I got, stuck on that meth, dude. You know what I'm saying? And I remember the first like couple times I used it, I felt like I was Superman. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wow, this is cool, and nobody told me about the come down, bro. And I I just I didn't want to come down after that, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it was cool at first, right? I'll be real with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'll be honest, dude. It was really cool at first, You've been able to go home, sleep when you slept, ate when you ate, right? Go off and party for a few days and do your little runs and stuff and start all over again. That was cool, you know what I mean? But then it got to the point, again, the fast version, bro, is like I wasn't allowed back home anymore, right? I didn't have a home, you know what I'm saying? I was just kind of staying where I can stay at. I was getting to that age where it was like, what are you even doing home still, like in my mid 20s and stuff, right? But and then around this time, well, I would say I was 23, bro. 23 when I did my first prison term. Um, Again, the fast version, bro, but like was I was 23, 24 when I hit Wasco, did a little turnaround, little 16 with half, thought I was some big timer. I
Yeah.
heard the oldies playing in the background, looking at the towers and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Just like the movies, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm on the reception yard. I'm like, give me the shank. You know what I mean? I want to raise my hand for everything, dude. You know what I'm saying? They're like, kick down, kick back, bro. We're just waiting for like, canteen to hit, but um but it was funny because like I realized that when I hit that yard, bro, I felt like, all right, I made it. I'm a man. You get what I'm saying? And because that's what was my goal, dude. You know what I'm saying? Running amok and doing your thing, and that was my goal, dog. And and once you get that number, dude, once you get on probation, parole, it's hard to give it back. And cumulatively, bro, over the course of my time, out there, I did over a little over 9 years. 5 prison terms. My prime address was, Theo Lacey or the Main, right? Over there in PMod and KMod and such, with all the fellas and such. But it was just a vicious cycle. I got out within 3, 4 months, I was back in. I couldn't lay off the drugs, right? I started slamming it, started using it with the needle, and sharing needles and all that good stuff that came with it. Knock on wood, I'm still healthy today, but it was just misery, dude. Misery, isolation. I mean, I don't know how you want to call it, bro. But then at the time, it's like it's all I knew. My family's not wanting me around, you know what I'm saying? And I always share this part, uh, treat not I guess now looking back at it, it wasn't the way it was, but back then I was like, "You're gonna treat me like a POS. I'm gonna show you what a POS can do, dude." And I went full throttle, man, you know what I'm saying? And did the most, right? And it was nothing cute, dude. It was nothing cute. I found myself in places where I never thought in a million years, sharing needles in homeless encampments, bro, and um, running around panhandling, bro. Like, again, of course, of like 13, 14 years, I'm gonna give it to you in like 2 minutes, but in my own neighborhood with my backpack, sleeping at the park, sleep in the riverbed, right? Yeah, in the riverbed over there off the 91 freeway. There's a riverbed that runs alongside of it, and I slept in there in a tent with about maybe 10 other people, and that was my get down. That was my hustle. There's a Harley shop right there on Magnolia and Ornsthorpe, and that donut shop at 5 in the morning. All the construction workers go there, and I would go out there panhandle, dude. Get a couple bucks for some coffee and some donuts, dog. You know what I mean? Because at this point, my hustle ran dry, bro. For a minute, yeah, we're selling, we're pushing, we're moving, we're doing all this stuff, right? To make the money. Then like, that front runs dry, you know what I'm saying? You're burning your bridges, you're so strung out that, you're gonna give me X amount of stuff to sell. I'm not selling it, dude. I'm getting loaded. You know what I'm saying? And whoever I'm with, we're gonna party, dog. And that's just the way it was, right? And yeah, I couldn't go home, had nowhere to go, bro, you know what I'm saying? A couple of times, a couple of homies let me sleep on the couches and stuff, but it was like cars, a girl who had an apartment, I don't know, wherever I can get in, bro, I found myself, dude, but yeah, finding myself in some predicaments that I never thought, you know what I'm saying? And, it was just right it's ugliness, bro, ugliness and darkness, dog, And, yeah, the last 2 years of my addiction, dude, I slept in that, homeless encampment in the ditch, and I don't even know how, bro. At this point, I have a couple of kids in between there, I guess, somehow sprouted them. I got married while I was in county to, my youngest kid's, mom, and, she didn't want me around, you get what I'm saying? And, rightfully so, Um, so I had all these things out there, but I was just showing up for nobody, And, I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic, but this is the way I always envision it. Like, I remember at the bus stop one time, I was sitting there because I had nowhere to go. Literally have nowhere to go. I'm sitting there with my backpack because when you're roaming the streets, you always have a backpack, right? What's your basics, And it was like 8 in the morning, and everybody's getting on the bus, driving to school, driving to work, and I felt like I was in this bubble, right? I was in this bubble, clear bubble where I can just see the world just happening, and like nobody can even see me, right? I don't think like I was talking to my family. I don't think I was talking to anybody. Like I had nothing going on, like straight up, like nothingness, And it was defeating, dude. It was defeating. And I don't know, like at some point I just said either, hey God, dude, either kill me or help me, dude, And of course, fighting cases, doing time and all that good stuff, you know what I mean? Running from the cops, getting my grandma's and my mom's house raided, my ex-wife's house raided and stuff like that, my gang unit and all that good stuff. And uh when I said that prayer, dude, I think it took about a month where he sent Fullerton PD's finest, bro, and took me in for the last time, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie to you, dude, when I ran for that last time, I ran. I was walking down the street, the cop flipped up, made a U-turn. I dropped my backpack, I took off running. They found me at a rooftop in some apartment complex around like maybe about half a mile away. Um, and when I got arrested, bro, I sat in that cop car and I just felt rested. I was like, I'm done, dude. I'm so done. You know what I'm saying? I was done. And I got arrested because I had a warrant. I had been fighting a case for like a couple of years. At the time, my wife, right, she put up some money, put up a lot of stuff, and bailed me out on this case that I was fighting like a lot of time on. I was fighting about 47 years. And I told her, I mean, either you divorce me or you move to where I'm going, because if I get 10 years or more, dude, I'm not coming home. You know what I'm saying? I'm not coming home, dude, and God showed up, dude. God showed up. And after about 2.5 years of fighting that case and just going to court, I got 4 years in a strike. I said, shoot it. They said, Mr. Contreras, turn yourself in. I was like, okay, sure. A couple of times I tried, bro, but I can't do it, bro, but so I finally got caught up on that case, and I was glad, because even when I was out on bail, dude, like I was still running and gunning, you know what I'm saying? Going to court, nodding off, strung out, half asleep. I don't know how they did not catch wind, but I did a little time, you know what I'm saying? But when I got to that yard, bro, I was like, at this moment, I was so done. Like, if you heard like the idea, like, you want to stop, but you don't know how, right? You don't have the means, or you don't have the guts or the mentality, but in your heart, you're done with this, right? And it was just the using, dude, because I was just so bad, bro, and I just told myself, like, dude, like, for me, it was God telling me, like, hey, bro, like, this is what your life is going to look like if you don't figure it out. Like 47 years, 36 years, down to 27. Like, I was going to die a dope fiend in prison or on the streets. So I feel like God was telling me, all right, dude, I'm going to give you a shot, dude. Do your little slap on the hand, 4 years, come home and figure it out, bro, And then for the first time in all my terms, I mean, I stayed clean on the yard. I went to meetings, I went to groups, went to church, went to all that I could to get, out of the pad or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And um, at this point, like, I don't know if people recall, at around 2010-ish, the point system got weirdly shifted. So I got married, I had kids, my points dropped. And so I found myself on a 1 yard. I was like, what are we doing here, bro? Like, what is this all about, dude? And it was cool. You know what I'm saying? It was cool. I came home, and my ex-wife, well, we were in a stage of separation, but she picked me up and she was like, you got to figure it out, dude. You can't stay with me. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, within 2 weeks, Lorenzo, you're back in your hood doing the same old thing. And she was right. Every time she picked me up, come home, baby, I'm gonna do good, and da 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 da. I love you, the kids, and blah blah blah. Within 2-3 weeks tops, I'm out job searching, right, in her car, and then I'm back in the hood with some other girl slamming dope, right? And then just that's the way it was. So I didn't know, dude. All I knew that I didn't want to go back to prison, bro. I was done with that. Things were getting wonky. I'm like, I'm good, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's for the birds, you know what I'm saying? And I called my parole officer and I'm like, hey, dude, I need a treatment center. He's like, for what, bro? All your stuff is like violent, gang related. He's like, you have like maybe 3 drug charges, you know? And so he shot me some resources, and he gave me 2 of them. And it was either Cooper Fellowship in Santana, or it was the one Woodland in Fullerton. And I Googled Maps it, and I saw that Cooper Fellowship had a pool. I'm like, I'm gonna go there, you know. I called up the place. They said, call back tomorrow if you're serious. And bro, I remember when he said, call back tomorrow and we'll see if we have it better for you. I panicked. I was like, if I don't go today, dude, I don't know what's gonna happen. But I sat on my hands, bro, and I waited it out. And dude, like, it just, I got plugged in, dude. Luckily, by the grace of God, like the stop program paid for my whole treatment there. I was there for like 3 months, dude. And my goal there, bro, was not to go to prison. I was done. Not to go to prison. I have a G number. I never gave it back. I've had it. I had it for like, I don't know how many years. I finally gave it back in 2017. And but my goal was to get out of stay out of prison, dog. You know what I'm saying? But when I was there, I paid attention, I listened, and I walked in there with my prison grays, what I paroled in, and I don't know what to expect, dude. But I heard, like, the first week a bunch of guys tell my story, and I was like, all right, cool, we're all creeps. You know what I mean? I can mess with you guys. You know what I'm saying? I found my people, and I just paid attention, and then that's where I got plugged into my recovery program, dude. I can't say I fell in love with it, but it gave me some things that I have never had in life, which was the freedom to be able to walk these streets, showered, fed, not looking over my shoulder, you know what I'm saying? Not being scared of the parole officer, probation officer, being able to look my family in the eye, and that's where my recovery took off, dude. My sobriety, um, was in 2014, dude, over at Cooper Fellowship, dude. I got a sponsor, worked some steps, and never looked back, dude. Never looked back, bro. You know? So yeah.
And then today you have what do you have, a master's?
Yeah. Well, because in recovery, I had the get well job, right? I worked
Yeah.
at a landscaping spot, the worst job I probably could have ever had. But, I just hated it. And then a friend of mine said, "Hey, do you want to work in treatment? The detox down the street, needed detox tech." I went over there, I got plugged in. And we all have stories, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so like when I was sitting there and just doing my thing as a detox tech, I was like, this is cool. I was able to connect and relate to a lot of the clients. You know what I'm saying? And getting feedback of like, "Hey, Lorenzo, this is, appreciate you sharing, you're helpful, blah, 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 all that good stuff." And so like honestly, bro, like I thought I was gonna work these little dead end jobs, what I'm saying? I had no idea what I was gonna do. But while I worked in treatment, I remember going to the therapist office and seeing the letters on their doors, LCSW, LMFT, and we were cool. Like we would collaborate. I ended up being a case manager there. Wore a lot of hats, but I would ask them like, "What does this mean? Right? What do you do? Right? How much do you get paid? Right?" Because over the course of early recovery, I was like, sharing my story, going to different treatment centers, being of service, all that good stuff. And I'm like, if I can make a living doing this, then why not? So I went to Santa Ana College thinking, just let me go get my associates. I didn't even know what it was, I mean, just to see what's up. I thought maybe a semester or two. And I was there for 3 years, bro. And that's where I learned about the term called helping professional. You know what I'm saying? So I figured, all right, cool. Let me get a couple of associate degrees. I got three, I think, in the course of 3 years. And I met a teacher there who plugged us up into Cal State Long Beach and the social work program. And social work, you do a lot of different things. And after I graduate, I mean, let me back up really quick because I'm the guy that barely graduated high school, bro. Like I had to go to night school for like 3 months. You know what I mean? All that stuff. I ditched. I hated it. But I hit Santa Ana College, dude, and I still have them in my closet right here. I got ropes, medals, all that regalia that you get for President's Scholar Award, UCI scholarships, like all kinds of stuff, dude. And I was like, dude, I'm actually good at this when I pay attention, and I liked it. It felt good to be able to learn, to be able to, uh, I want to say like I was creating myself, dude, right? I was creating a sense of myself, like I was giving back to myself that I hadn't given myself when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? And so I fell in love with education, bro. You know what I'm saying? I fell in love with education and what it was doing for me, the doors that it was opening up. And, you know, it was mind blowing when I graduated Santa Ana College in 2020, the year of COVID. So I didn't get to walk. It sucked, bro. Cause I have all the regalia, the robe and tassels and blah, blah, blah. And like our graduation was on Zoom. I was heartbroken, bro. I was heartbroken, but um, I applied to Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Fullerton, UCI, all the universities around here. I applied to them, and um, I got in, dude. I got in, dude, to Cal State Long Beach social work program over their night program in 2 years. I got my bachelor's in social work, and that was like a party, bro. I was like, dude, no freaking way. They shared a little bit of my story on the jumbotron during graduation and stuff, um, and it was cool because in my program there was a lot of people just like us, dude. A lot of older cats getting clean, getting their lives together, and just social work just seemed to be the thing to be able to give back, right? And but I was like, why stop here? Why stop here? You know what I'm saying? I took a year off. I had a good job over at the Orangewood Foundation over here in Santana, and I loved it. You know what I'm saying? And took a year to work for a little bit, get some experience, and then I applied for my master's program. And shout out to the the Long Beach social work program class of 2025 advanced standing, because I applied to this program and it was the advanced standing program where we can do it in 1 year. And I got that shit done. We got that done, bro, in
Wow.
1 year, bro. It was tough. It was a lot of work. a lot of work. And anybody who knows about that program knows what's up. But I don't know, bro. Once I got momentum going, you know what I'm saying? God was showing me, God was opening these doors. God was just lighting up my footsteps like, hey, the next indicated step, bro, I got you. Just show up. And that's what I did. And I graduated 2025 in May, from Cal State Long Beach, got my master's in social work, and so today I'm an associate clinical social worker. I'm a practicing therapist for a nonprofit agency in Santa Ana, working with the community. And it's amazing, dude. It's amazing to go. I sit here and laugh, bro, because it's like comical, dude. I'm waiting for myself to wake up. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday I was running some errands and, I was sitting there drinking a cup of coffee and I was looking at my truck. I was just reflecting for a second. I was like, dude, dreams coming true, working where I want to work at, being where I want to be at, creating my connection with God. You know what I'm saying? Dreams are coming true. At 44 years old, my dreams are coming true. I'm not even halfway there yet either, bro. God willing, I'll be on this earth for a while, but for a long while more, but I'm just getting started, dude. Like I'm just getting started, but yeah, I got my master's, bro, and it's crazy to go from a hopeless dope fiend who's homeless, living in a homeless encampment to I don't know. I find myself now. Back then, I found myself in these freaking situations in these circles. It's like, dude. And today, like, I got friends of mine who are probation officers. She knows who she
Yeah.
is. Who are county officials. And it's amazing that God has put me in these, circles to where I get to like, hey, I need help with this, or I got this going on, or being able to link people up, right? You know, um, but yeah, dude, from that to a master's degree, that's all God, bro. Like it's all God. Like I tell Chucks all the time, like we're on borrowed time, bro. Like how can I not be grateful, dude?
Right.
How can I not be grateful? My little apartment back here that you see, my little car that I be driving, my little truck that you be driving. It's like it's all icing on the cake, dude, because it's all God. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? He just showing up and saying, and I'm not saying blessings come in the way of those things, but these are the things that can happen when, you just let go and let him. Let it go and let him, dude. You know what I'm saying? Take the next indicated step, bro. You know what I'm saying? And just give to the world and not take back so much, or take so much, and I'm just grateful, bro. I'm just grateful. Don't know, I'm not always grateful. I'm human, bro. Sometimes I forget, like, you know, sometimes I forget, like, poor me, I gotta pay my renter's insurance. Poor me, I gotta
Yeah.
pay my truck bill, my truck note. I'm already complaining about gas, about this truck that I gotta, like, fill up and stuff. And I'm like, Lorenzo, shut up, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's a bus pass really quick. Go remind yourself, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? How hard it was to get that bus pass back in 2015, 2016, right? Because bus passes back then were like $60. That's like, might as well have been 500. $60, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, yeah, bro.
So when you look back at high school, do you think you were chasing fun, or were you already trying to feel something?
Ooh, well, the fun, I mean, that was there, but I think I was just trying to, I'll be real, I was trying to fit in. I just wanted to be a part of, you get what I'm saying? And it's not like I was just trying to be like a poser or anything like that. I just, this is where the reflection comes, right? Looking back at it, doing my own work, you know what I'm saying? Just as a kid, like, yeah, my stepdad was around, but we weren't really clicking, dude. My grandpa, he shook the spot, you know what I'm saying? While I was like 13, 14, my dad, he was in the picture, but like, he lived in another state, dude. And so I was raised by my grandma, my mom. I think my aunt was around, you know what I'm saying? And I love the efforts and stuff, but there's just some things that, I needed a male, dude. You get what I'm saying? I needed a male and I just wanted the camaraderie. I was the oldest child. I was the only son, right? I had little baby cousins and stuff, but um maybe just wanted to feel acknowledged, important, and it took some time for me to figure this out, dude. It wasn't like a blame game on my family and how they raised me. It was more like they did the best they could, and maybe my mom, she did the best that she could, but maybe she didn't know how to raise a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, but um connection, bro. I guess I was just chasing connection, dude. Purpose.
So you said you can't pinpoint when it crossed from partying to dependency. What did addiction quietly take from you before you even realized it?
When did it take from me?
Yeah.
Okay, so like when I was early 20s, before I got off and running, like, I was seeing somebody, for a minute. Again, I had my first son. My first son right now is in his early 20s. And then I had my daughter right after that. And my daughter's right behind him, and we were always together, dude, you know what I'm saying? And me and their mom, like, we had our issues, and it was also because mostly because I was out doing my thing and running amok, you know what I'm saying? And I'll come home for 3 days, leave for 3 days, and all that to say is, like, when I started using more heavily, dude, like, those 3 days turned into 3 weeks, and those 3 weeks turned into 3 months. And I'll be real, dude, because of staying more out on the streets and then starting to do time, like, I think it was, like, at some point, I no joke, dude, it was, like, 3, maybe 4 years before I saw my kids again. I'm like, "What happened, dude? Where these past couple of years go, dude?" You know what I'm saying? When I last saw them, they're in diapers, and now they're, like, talking, walking and stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'm on probation, on parole, and so to answer that question, that's when I realized, looking back, that that's where it started taking from me was my time, it was my time, you know?
You wanted to make a name for yourself. What did that name mean back then and what does it mean now?
Oh, back then, it was I wanted it was interesting because I just wanted that notoriety. I wanted that clout. I don't even think I ever got it, bro. Like, I had the homeboys, the homies know me, dude. I still talk to a few of them just, through social media and stuff. And, I just when you're looking up to the big homie who has the cars, the girl, the biggest bricks, you know what I'm saying? And, in the neighborhood, then that's what you're striving for. And that's what I wanted to be like, right? I wanted everybody in the neighborhood to respect me and to know whom I was and to be that guy, right? And just turned out that it got me a CDC number, bro. It just got me well known with, I'll tell you right now, well, Fullerton's game unit, bro. That's where it got me, dude. Number one on their list, dude. I mean, I'm sure I wasn't number one, but just always just they saw me. They would pull over my mom, dude. They pull over, people that I knew, like, hey, where's Lorenzo at? They're like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Um, that's what I guess that's what I was just looking for today. I mean, it didn't get me much, dude, but, a rap sheet, like, I think 17 felonies, you know what I'm saying, and got me a bunch of time, on vacation in the beautiful desert, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, of various resorts that we know as Wasco, Soledad, like, all that, you know what I'm saying, and, that's all it got me, bro, It's all it got me.
So whenever you were living in the riverbed, did you ever think that this is where I'm gonna die?
Yeah. Yeah, bro, I did. That's why I was like, I always call that kamikaze, dude. I was like full throttle, you know what we mean by full throttle, dude. I was
Yeah.
doing full shots, dude. You know what I'm saying? And towards the past couple of years, like, I'll be real with you, I was a tweaker, bro. I wanted to go fast. I wanted to go nowhere real fast. You know what I'm saying? And towards the past couple of years, dude, I was dabbling in that black, dude. And black back then in, 2006, 7, and 8, you know, uh, that heroin, dude, I started doing that, dude, and not just caring, dude. And hey, you got a needle? Like, let's do this, And I don't share that because it to glamorize it, bro. I just share it to where I was at, dude. And I don't ever wanna take for granted my health today, because I got a clean bill of health today, you know what I'm saying? A little bit of more achy bones and achy back, but overall, like, I got nothing going on that's internal, that I'm good, right? I'm healthy, and I thank God for that, but 1,000%, 1,000%. You're when you're out there, you can't think of that, dude. You're going full throttle, because if you're apprehensive, then that's when you're almost gonna be like, you're asking to get got, you know? You can't ask questions, dude. And so that's how I tried to live at that point. But yeah, dude, I thought for sure this is it. This is it. This is what I'm gonna make of myself. But I'll be lying to you if I didn't say that there was like 2% of me, 2% of me that thought there was more to life. You know, I would run to friends from high school like randomly at parties or wherever, and they'd be like, "Lorenzo, this isn't you, dude. Like, what's up?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear. Cool, cool, cool." But there's always that little piece. That there's
Yeah.
got to be more to life than this. But I just never saw a way out. I didn't think there was a way out. You know what I'm saying? So
So at any time during all of this, did you believe that you were still worth saving?
no,
No?
no, I didn't think I was worth anything, dude. But you know, I'll tell you a quick story. Back in junior high, when I was starting my my career, I I'm still friends with him on I still see his family on social media a lot. But there's this pastor that moved into our neighborhood, and he used to pick us up in a van and take us to like just youth group stuff and buy us Carl's Jr. and invite us to his house for pizza. And it was cool, dude. And I got tapped into some things that I got exposed to some things that there always was that moral compass, right? That good or bad, but I always chose to go what was easiest, which was the bad, right? Because of where I was at, I had to survive. And so I got introduced to God, like, at an early age, real my real God. So he was always there. I feel like looking back at it, like he was always there. There's been probably a handful of times where I should not have made it out, but he was always there. You get what I'm saying? And I share that because it's like I didn't. I felt like I was saved, back then. I fell off, the the radar with that, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like I was so far in the darkness that there was no way out at that time. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's why I didn't even try. I didn't even try. So no recovery, no detox, not trying to get clean. I never tried to get sober or clean up until this last time. This is my first time trying this thing and I stuck with it. But yeah, I don't think I was worth anything, dude. If my own family didn't want me around, right? Again, looking back, I see why, but if they didn't want me around, my kids didn't want me around, like, I'm saying, what am I worth? You know? I couldn't afford to buy my kids a cheeseburger at sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So what am I worth? You know?
So for people who think addiction is just bad choices, what do they not understand about the mental obsession?
Oh man, that's a good question. I would offer that like addiction is not just like just stop, just don't do it, right? That can be part of it, but uh the mentality, dude, the lifestyle, so many other things come into play, and I think a lot of people who find it hard to face that there can be more. And I'm gonna speak for myself, is that fear of like if I try and I fail, like it's a huge fear that we can have. You know what I'm saying? But the addiction, I mean, over it being just a choice, I wish it was, dude. Because so many times when I told myself I was done and I wanted to be done, and maybe I was done for like 2 days, but then here comes that person with the brand new batch and we're off and running, right? I lost that power to decide. We lose that power to decide. You know what I'm saying? Just like we believe in heaven and hell, light and dark, dude. Like that 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 dope has you by the cojones, dude, and don't let go, bro. And you've seen it, I've seen it, where we have people who have no reason to be using, right? And there's nothing going on, but they're there stuck and strung out. You know, you're not yourself, bro. I don't think I'm myself when I was loaded. I don't. That's why this past like what going on 12 years, I've been learning about myself. I'm still trying to figure myself out. I've still been loaded longer than I've been sober, you know what I'm saying, in my lifetime. So I'm still trying to figure it out. So it is not I don't think it's a decision, but we do get these moments of clarity like, hey, I can opt to sit here and stick it through. You know what I'm saying? We still have these moments of clarity, like when we're done, you want to be done, and what do you follow, how to follow through with that choice, right? But it's not easy because if it's just a matter of a choice, then there'll be so many other people on your podcast talking about transformation. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people for sure, but um, it's not that easy, dude. It's not that easy. It's so much other things come into play. So many other things come into play.
So you said long-term sobriety wasn't the goal. You just didn't want to go back to prison. What did sobriety become? When did sobriety become something you actually loved?
Okay, I remember, being in a sober living, because when I was in treatment at Cooper those 3 months, that's when me and my ex-wife decided to get divorced officially. We filed for divorce, and we're great, not friends, but we get along great today. We co-parent amazingly, you know what I'm saying? And but I remember, one of my get well jobs was at a selling car warranties, telemarketing, and I remember my first paycheck. And she picked me up from the bus stop because I didn't in the bus deal, and I had my daughter and my son who are still in diapers, and we went to Mile Square Park, and I was able to buy them each a Happy Meal. I cried, bro, because of my first paycheck. But first thing that I was able to contribute to my kids on my own. It wasn't my mom giving me a couple bucks or the homie giving me a couple bucks to buy them diapers. It was something that I earned, to be able to help my kids out, and it was just a Happy Meal. And that point, I knew I liked it. I liked that responsibility. I liked the fact that I was able to give back. I liked that, I started to fall in love with like what can really be done, you know what I'm saying, and how I can contribute to my family. Um, and I fell in love with it. And that was just the first, right? That was just the first, you know what I'm saying? You get to have friends, who are, and I'm gonna be real. I love my neighborhood. I love where I come from. All the homies, I got mad love for them, you know what I'm saying? But again, you put yourself in situations that are not the healthiest or the best, you know what I'm saying? And as I am getting sober, I got these friends who are not asking me like, what do I got in my pockets? Who are not trying to get at my girl, who are actually calling me and texting me, hey bro, how you doing, dude? Like, what's going on? Like, how you been this week? You know what I'm saying? Let's go get some tacos. Let's go get, what I'm saying, some coffee or whatever, and that's I started to fall in love with that too, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, you get what I'm saying, that you get from, your recovery crew, because you think about it, just like in your neighborhood and when we're growing up, we all have a common denominator of our struggle of what we're going through, right? And we all come together, what I mean, to survive, and I feel like the same is in that recovery tribe is the same thing because you live the lifestyle, you've gone through a transition of sobriety and getting sober, and so you understand each other of what you've gone through, right? And so that brotherhood you connect. I mean, I got friends of mine who I got clean with it. I talk to maybe once a week, once a month, but every time we talk, it's like we talk every single day because it never goes away. Like we know, like we just know, you know, and all the external stuff, the apartment, the vehicle, like paying the bills, all that cool, pretty shit. It's cool. It's good. You know what I'm saying? But for me, it's like, I am proud today. I am proud of, you know, in a humble way, like, I'm proud of the work that I've been able to do. I'm proud that, I'm able to help out other people. I'm proud that, my son, who's 13 going on 14, is, like, making his own college list, right? When I was 13, I wasn't doing any college list, you know what I'm saying? But because I've been able to just give him an example and surround him and my other kids with godly like people, um, they're making decisions. They're breaking that chain. They're breaking that cycle, you know what I'm saying? But there's no one answer to your question, bro. It's accumulation of everything, dude. Just, that sense of peace. I go to bed at night, in a clean pillow with clean sheets, right? I have running water. If I want to go buy a cup of coffee for $8 at Starbucks, I can. You know what I'm saying? But also, like, people can depend on me today. People know, like, hey, I'm moving this weekend. Can you help me out? I got you. Hey, bro, like, this is going on. Can you help me out with this? I got you. My kids depend on me. My family depends on me. My girlfriend depends on me. Like, I can show up today, dude, and I like that. I can go visit my grandma, and take her lunch or whatever the case may be. All these little gifts of sobriety are just, how can you not fall in love with it, dude? And I think people who are not in sobriety or recovery, good, awesome, right? But I think we're blessed with this lens, dude, that we can look at these small things and look at them a lot bigger. For me, being able to take my grandma like some tamales, I remember not too long with me and my girlfriend took her some tamales and stuff and had lunch. Like, that was powerful for me, dude. I was like, dude, heck yeah, this is cool, right? Taking my kids to the park or to an Angels game or whatever, right? And people are like, "Oh, we do that all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't understand, like, once upon a time, I couldn't buy myself a jumbo jack." You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I couldn't even look myself in the mirror without just being like, "Who are you?" You know? So, I mean, it's all of it, dude. Anything that happens after May 7th, 2014 or, uh, uh, is I'm in love with it all, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm in love with it all. Even being here in this podcast, bro, like, look at us, dude. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? It's intense, dude. It's intense, because when one day you're in this little 10 by 10 like concrete, bunker and stuff, you know what I mean? Trying to, fish a soup or a shot of coffee or something. And then next thing you know, like you're on a podcast with the homie, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? On a Saturday morning, complaining about waking up early and poor us, right? You know,
I'm still in a concrete box, really. I'm in my garage.
and again, I share this because I don't want to like ever like I'm not gonna. There's never any shade in anybody's, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
we're not at yard right now, bro.
Right.
We're not getting lined up for chow, you know what I'm saying? And I thank God for that. I can eat what I want today, you know what I'm saying? And I can shower by myself today. That's that's a nice plus, you know. I get to kiss my girlfriend today and hang out with her and spend time with my kids, actually physical touch, right? So, yeah, dude.
So, was there a moment where Christ became real to you? Not religion, but a relationship with Christ.
Say that again?
Was there a specific moment where Christ became real to you? Not just religion, but a relationship.
Yeah. Um, my sobriety hasn't been perfect, dude. I'm still human. I still have a human heart, right? Sinful heart, and I think about year 4 or 5, 5-ish, I went through some things, some transitions in life, and they were difficult. And it was a reminder that, sober or not, I still have this thinking, right? I still have this idea that, this is a good idea, right? And whatever the case may be, and it was a hard, hard year, and but I'm grateful for it because I look back at it and it was at that point where I completely surrendered to God, right? I said, God, I thought I had it. I thought like, cool, my program, God will do a little bit of both. I'll do a little bit of me. I'll be good. As long as I'm not back in there, I'm straight. And wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because life on life terms is still happening, dude. Live action, no rehearsals, right? No do-overs. And I learned that the hard way, dude. You know what I'm saying? And it was a hard transition. And I completely was at a point. I remember I was at a church service and it was, I don't know if it was in the beginning or during, but I just broke down just sobbing. I think Chuck's was actually there sobbing, dude. And like, just having the pastor and the little church I was at praying over me. And I just felt so overwhelmed, but a sense of relief because I was just done, just trying to like still control and drive the wheel, you know what I'm saying, or drive the car, and I just completely gave it to God. Like, God, I got nothing, dude. All these things that I've accumulated, cool, cool, cool. But like, ultimately I still had nothing, you know. I thought I had it, but I didn't. I didn't. And I felt when then that connection with God became, like you said, real. Like God became real and it became a real factor in my life in the day to day. Like he's literally like he's like kicking it right here with us right now, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's walking us through this. He's being here with me right now. And I use it every waking moment, and I share with my girlfriend all the time. Like if God ain't in it, I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? I got to pray on it and listen to it. And just recently, just talking to Chucks and the fellows on Wednesday nights, talking about like, I see God like this, right? I see God like this every on a weekly basis. He's like this. I see you. I'm here. What's up, bro? Like, and I love it, dude, because I feel like I haven't had that, and as time is going on since that moment, I mean, since that year, I feel like little by little, I'm seeing him in a different light. I'm seeing him a lot more clearly. I'm hearing him a lot more clearly. And it's giving me such peace, bro. Such peace because I'm done controlling it. Before that time, like it was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. I gotta fix it. Oh, freaking out, anxiety, stress, right? Me. How can I make this better? And now it's like, it is what it is, right? I'll show up, do my part, but God, here it is. Handle it. Handle it. And now it's like, yeah, we have worries and concerns, but not to the way it was before. And that's all God, bro. That's God being fully alive in my life, fully present in my life, And I'm gonna say a disclaimer for those of you who know me, right? Personally, I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I am nowhere near perfect. You know what I'm saying? And, but I do know that my salvation is perfect. You know what I'm saying? My God is perfect and he's in my life. You know what I'm saying? And I do know that I'm saved and it's all him, that's why I'm here today. That's all him, dude. And I love it. You know what I'm saying? I relish in it. And I just embrace it, bro. I just embrace it, and whatever happens, even my sponsor, my best friend says, even if God were to take your apartment, take your truck and take this, like, you're going to be good. Right. And I was like, that would suck. But yeah, put me back in the riverbed. I got God. I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
So
I
you
don't
don't
know,
think
dude.
so you don't think that if let's just say that God took everything, right? And you ended up back in the riverbed, right? Would you give up down there in that riverbed?
No, dude.
Okay.
Because I mean, we talked about it before with Mike, if you recall, bro. If
Yeah.
and back in the early days, right, or a couple months ago, talking about how we suffer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Are we suffering with gratitude and grace, dude? Like, thank you, God. Because I know you're still here, right? And that's the way I look at it, dude. Like, hey, cool, dude. You want me to go without groceries, and it's all right. I got you, God. You got me. I am gonna be filled. My family will be okay. Imagine, bro, the relief that brings, dog. And I know you know it, dude. You know what I'm saying? And as you let all that go, right, and give it to God, right, then it's just a sense of peace, dude. And so if I were to go back to the riverbed, I know it'd be to my own doing, right? God gives us free will and to make our own choices. If I make a choice to like just burn it all down, you know what I'm saying? If I make that choice to burn it all down, me personally, I'll be questioning myself, why did I not tap into God in the first place to keep me from going back to the river? But to answer your question, to be fair, I'd say no, dude, but I can't call it, dude. I don't want to live in a world of hypotheticals. Sometimes I do, but it's like, I know that if I continue to do what I'm doing today, I'm saying that the riverbed has no place for me,
Right.
unless I'm giving
Exactly.
back or helping, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
So from a homeless gang member to therapist with a master's degree, when did you first believe that version of you was possible?
dang, dude. I don't even know if I still believe it sometimes, dude. Because I
That's
remember
fair.
for so many years, dude, I was like, so I'm gonna have a lot of my friends watch this who are from my program, from my cohort, you know what I'm saying, who are savvy to the education and how it works through the journey of undergrad to graduate school. And um, you're working, you're putting in hours to get where you want to be at, to be, for us, clinical social workers and get licensed, and to be therapists, right? And it's that thing that you like, we go to the gym and we work out to get that six pack that we never get, but we get
Right.
stronger, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing though. Like, I work so hard and it's like, I'm never, and then I'm walking around, I'm in my office, I have a client in front of me and I'm like sitting in my head, like laughing my butt off, dude. I'm like, no way, dude. Is this person coming in my office and asking me for help and want me to be their therapist? I can't say at what point, but in the worldly version, when it came real, I think when I got accepted to my graduate school program, my master's program, I was like, oh crap, it's happening. Like, oh crap, it's happening, because even when I was in Santa Ana College, I'm like, a master's degree? I'm like, it might as well be like, you know, but as time went on, I'm seeing other people do it, friends of mine are doing it, and we're still doing it, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, dude, it's really gonna happen. It's really gonna happen, because I know, like, once I got into my graduate program, my master's program, it was sink or swim, and I ain't sinking, dude. I didn't come this far to get this far, dude. You know what I'm saying? I always tell my friends that I didn't get sober to be average. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get clean just to be clean, bro. I wanna make some moves, dude. You know what I'm saying? I wanna show the world, like, my world, my bubble, my community, right? What God is capable of, you know? And that's why I come on these things. This is why I do these podcasts, not like, look what I did, but look what can be possible when, what look what God can do, you know? But yeah, I just showed up, dude, and, I just thank you, God, for giving me my master's degree. Thank you, God, for allowing me to have the brain capacity to pay attention long enough for them to hand me a diploma. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause, times were rough back then, but I think as I worked on myself, right, my own work, my own personal, emotional, mental health work, I started to have a belief in myself that, I am, like you asked me earlier, I am worthy. I can have this lifestyle. I do, I am worthy of this lifestyle of, being able to have this, position in our communities and such, um, I've worked for it, me and God put in a lot of work, and so I look at my past, like my history of my incarceration, my homelessness, me being strung out. For me, that was like we have the associates, your undergrad, and then your grad school. For me, that was like the pre-education. That was God's education, priming me to like, have the perspective that I have today on, life and, just allow me to help people, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't think if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be able to touch the people that I do today. I really wouldn't be able to connect or relate, So I know from day one, the first time that I put that my pipe in my mouth, God had a plan, you know. God had a plan, but I just had to stay alive long enough to be able to see that plan through, and not kill myself, whether accidentally or purposely, dude, be real, to be able to see that plan through. And then here we are today, and he's still not done. You get what I'm saying? But God had a plan, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I got you, Lorenzo. Don't trip, you know? Don't trip. So
So if you could sit across from the version of you that was in the riverbed, what would you say to him and would he believe you?
no, I'd probably I would probably be asking him for some money. Bro, buy me some lunch. Nah, say that again.
So if you were sitting across from the person you were in the riverbed, right? What would you say to him and would he believe you? Like just about your whole transformation, you know what I mean?
Yeah. One, he wouldn't believe me. And two, regardless, he probably wouldn't listen, you know. And on a side note, like I would say like, it all happened for a reason, most definitely. But I would just tell him to I mean, if I was trying to help him, encourage him, I would just tell him that he's loved. He's loved. People do love him. The lies that he was telling himself that, my family don't love me, my kids don't love me, you know, you know, X, Y, and Z doesn't love me, I'm a POS, I'm undeserving. I would tell him, hey, bro, you're loved, dude. Go back home and find out, just how much. Go put in the work and just see just how much. Um, yeah, dude, that's probably be it. That would be it, is that you're loved, because even, you can be in a room full or a block full or in my neighborhood just surrounded by people all day long and having a great time and still feel like the loneliest man in the world. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I kind of felt like I was a little for like a long time, dude, because it was all cool, you know what I mean? But it's like, damn, dude, I still felt that like hole, that big old hole in my heart, dude. That no drug can fill, no woman can fill, no man can fill, anything
Yeah.
that I was trying to fill it with, no food, whatever it was, bro. Like, the homies, the good times, the parties, it was still a void, dude. You know what I'm saying? I would tell that dude, like, hey, you're loved. Uh, your life matters. You know what I'm saying? Your life does matter, because for so many years, and I think this is why, I don't hope I say this correctly. This is why I have such a soft heart for the homeless, dude, because I was there.
Yeah.
And if they're feeling half of what I felt when I was homeless, Because I was that guy. Like I had the cardboard sign for a little bit. I had a shopping cart that carried my sleeping bag and stuff around for a little bit. I panhandled in front of, gas stations and, donut shops, I didn't shower for weeks. I would shower in, like, apartment complexes' pools, pretend like I'm swimming, but I'm actually showering, you know? I slept at those of you who know the parking ride in Fullerton, I slept in the bathrooms on the floor, locked myself in there, right? I slept in the park at Gilbert Park, you know what I mean? Being so cold that you're wet, I slept behind bus stops because the bench covered, had a little covering and stuff. Um Yeah, dude. I just lost my, what we're train of thought, but like it's just, I just tell him that he's loved, dude. And the homeless, no, you get my point. I'm sorry. Is it if they felt half of what I felt when I was homeless, dude, and I would just tell them like, hey, you're loved, dude, and you are worthy, and you do have a chance at life, dude, and you can have the life that you want. This doesn't have to be your end game. This isn't it. You know what I'm saying? This doesn't have to be it. There's more than this, right? But I think the same thing that, like, you probably know too, bro, is it takes some work, dude. It takes some work. It takes some commitment. It takes some work, and, it can be scary for a lot of people, It can be scary for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people in the beginning choose to be homeless,
Right.
Once they get there, they might choose to stay homeless, you
Yeah.
know? But I know that a lot of people, we're walking down the streets and they see a homeless person, they tend to veer away a little bit. They cross the
Absolutely.
street,
I was
do
just
all that stuff. I'm
even
like,
even people even people who are in recovery, right? Who once lived that life, right? That were homeless, that were at that rock bottom, and now they got it together and they see a homeless person on the street, they still veer off or they ignore him. Like, bro,
yeah,
did you forget where you once were?
yeah. Yeah, I look at, like, some people look at them and they feel, like, disgust or
Yeah,
they get mad because they're there, and I was like, "We don't know what they've gone through, we don't know their situation," and I'll be real, dude, like, homeless people are everywhere, unfortunately, dude, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And though I don't, you know, it can feel scary, but at the same time, I also know because when I was sitting there as a homeless person, I wasn't trying to hurt nobody. I just
right.
wanted to eat something, dude. I just wanted
Yeah.
somewhere to rest, So when
And
I see them, be real, bro, as having them lined up outside your apartment complex, not the prettiest, right?
right.
But I have that heart for like, hey, dude, here's some sandwiches, bro. Here's this, or here's whatever. Me and my kids have gone randomly just, handing out stuff, as we drive through, what I'm saying, keeping stuff in my truck at times to hand them out. Like, hey, dude, you need a jacket. Hey, you need a hoodie, like whatever the case may be,
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And just to be able to, because I know what it's like, I know what it's like. I guess all that to say is like, I've learned not to ignore them, you
yeah,
know, to at least acknowledge that they're there. You get what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, like when you go do your outreach and stuff, like they're coming through for what? To eat, bro.
yeah. Yeah,
Hungry.
they have never asked for a single dollar, right? Never. They're grateful. Like, we went last night, I cooked them hot dogs, I had a bunch of snacks, drinks, and clothes. They never asked.
Where are you going? Where are you posting up at?
Western Catella.
Really?
Yeah. So,
That's
like, they were all at the Food for Less on Catella Beach. They closed it, so they all
yeah.
moved down, and, like, a couple times it looked like it was dead there, so I went to go try to find another spot, and it was hard. And I went right back to the same spot and they just all came out and, like, those are my guys over there. I'm gonna take care of you guys, don't worry, like, they need it. There's nobody else that goes out right there, they told me. So, yeah, that's
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
It's just I mean, I get it. And I understand both sides, but I also know like I was one of them. I even tell my chick, like, see that dude right there? Like that was literally me. And I don't think anybody will ever grasp that, dude. Because I mean, not to be like, I even drive by like over there on Magnolia in the 91.
mhm,
I drive by where I slept at and I point to my kids and my girlfriend and her kids or, people who like, I used to sleep right there. I used to jump that fence, sleep right there, you know? And so, I don't even believe it sometimes, but all that to say is like, it ain't the prettiest. It ain't, maybe they don't smell the greatest, but I don't ever look at them with hate or disgust.
No.
I was as more with a heavy heart. Like, it's unfortunate that that's where they're at. You know what I'm saying? That they lost hope. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And they've accepted like where they're at. And of course, we could go a whole another podcast on homeless. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But um, yeah, bro.
But
Yeah, I just
it's also our duty as God's children is to give them that hope back. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Try to plant those seeds. 'Cause, like, maybe one day they'll come up to you when you're feeding them or something and be like, "Hey, I want help," right? And then boom, that's a whole different story right there. Like, boom, let me get you into detox or let me get you some help.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I've learned that out of hundreds that you go out and outreach, maybe two
Right.
will change, and that's why what you do it for is those
Yeah.
two.
Yep.
Is those two.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, it was tough. It's tough. It's still unbelievable, but you know,
Well, I appreciate you coming on.